The best way to predict your future is to create it. That is a quote by Abraham Lincoln.
Welcome to Trina Talk. Trina Talk is a weekly podcast that will inspire and empower women of all ages to strive for the impossible. Your host, Trina L. Martin from TrinaMartin.com, is a motivational speaker, leader, and cyber tech expert. Every week, Trina will share wisdom gained from her life experiences and lessons learned while pursuing her goals to inspire you to achieve the next level in your life. Now, your host, Trina L. Martin.
Hello, welcome to Trina Talk. I am your host, Trina L. Martin, and this is episode 56. The topic of this week's episode is being mindful in your life. Before we get to this week's guest, I would like to tell you that the Kindle version of my book is available now for pre-order on Amazon, and it will be released on December 1st. The paperback edition will launch on January 7th. So pick up your copy of From a Mess to Amazing, 7 Steps to Create the Life You Deserve. The Kindle edition is now available for pre-order. My guest this week is Pamela Miles. Pamela uses a unique approach to mastery over self-doubt and sabotage, infusing daily mindfulness, self-care as a way to access wisdom within. This leads to greater self-love, healthier relationships, and a more passionate, powerful, fulfilling life. Hello, Pamela. Welcome to Trina Talk.
Hello, Trina. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I am glad to have you here. I was looking at your website and like we were talking before we went on the air, but I love your title. Your website is called Wisdom of Within, and you're into the body, mind, spirit, relationships, nourishing that, all of that, which speaks to me just because I had to rebuild myself, so to speak, from the inside out a few years ago after just encountering a whole lot of different problems and issues in my life. Give me a brief background on yourself, how you came to be the Pamela that you are today, and how you've overcome adversities and things like that.
Thank you for asking. I love sharing this with people because I think this is sometimes the missing piece. They may see you now in your form that you are right now and imagine that, you've always been like this, but actually what's beautiful is to discover the path that got someone to where they are. And for me, it definitely began when I was about 15, 16 years old, and I was told I could graduate high school early. And I was kind of like left at a loss. Nobody told me, that you should plan your life going forward now, because you get out of high school and you don't have any plans, you're basically going to be at the will of circumstances. Well, nobody kind of told me that. So I had to figure it out for myself. And I know from what I've read and listened to your show, Trina, for you as well, when you're faced with a challenge and you're kind of on your own to make your decisions, you just do the best you can. And at that time, I graduated high school, and I was so lucky because I actually was in a very spiritual community in New Haven, Connecticut, in a good sized community where I could, get a job and kind of start my life. But really, I didn't know the importance of planning and looking ahead and making decisions like an adult when I was so young, Mm. Then amazingly, really, truly amazingly, I was gifted with an amazing experience of becoming pregnant at 18. And I say that because it really was truly, I had a premonition. I had an experience of feeling like it was definitely a gift, a download. And that was really what snapped me up into adulthood.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where I started. And here I am 41 years later. And it's, been a long road, and now I'm a grandmother. But I'll tell you, that was really what kind of snapped me up into reality of like, take responsibility for your life and get it together, because now you're going to have to take care of this other human being. And in some ways, I have to say, Trina, I was so lucky because my parents were so supportive. My boyfriend was very supportive. I mean, it was just really actually a beautiful time. And my son is 41 years old, and he's about to become a parent in October.
Wow. Wow. So, and I totally agree with parenthood will make you become an adult. I have I have two teenagers now. I didn't have my first until I was 35, but it still changed me. Now, with you being how as young as you were when you graduated from high school and you kind of was thrust into the real world, what were you doing up to the point where you became pregnant to try to get yourself into quote unquote adulthood? Because I know how that is, because I've been taking care of myself ever since about 15 to 16 too. So
Mhm.
how do you do that? How did you go about that?
Well, as I say, I was extremely fortunate. I had a very supportive family. And actually, I began meditating at 16 years old. I was involved in a spiritual community where I meditated. I actually did yoga. Now we're talking 1973, 74, 75. So, this has been my lifelong. And the other thing that was amazing was I was surrounded by amazing women. So that was part of the reason why it was kind of like very easy for me to accept that I was pregnant, and then I would be carrying this baby to term, and then I would do everything I could to eat well and take good care of myself during the pregnancy to have a healthy baby, because I was in a community where there were other women having babies. And that's actually how I began my first career. Was I got asked to come with a woman to her birth. It was her third child being born, and she just wasn't sure if her husband was going to be in town and available to be there to support her in the birth. And she knew what she was, to expect, but she wanted a female companion. And I'd had my baby, my first child, and I was so honored to be invited. And seriously, I tell you, all I did, because she was amazing, all I did, Trina, was just tell her how beautiful she was. I got her water. I helped her move around. I just like made her comfortable. And I just like really watched in awe and reflected back to her power and her essence. And that's also where this kind of belief in the power of the inner wisdom of people has come from, because I've seen it in myself and I've seen it in other people. I do mostly work with women, and I think that in a lot of ways in our society, that's still needed, and I think even more so maybe than it was in the 70s back then. But really, just to have women surrounding each other and supporting each other and telling them, you don't have to look to the outside world for your recognition and your sense of self and your centeredness. It's actually inside of you.
Mm, I love that so much. And it seems like growing up, you had a great support system around you. Just of the different women you were talking about, you came to know. And then now I see why you call yourself the life midwife. Because it's so fitting, and it's funny because just talking to you, I have a sense of calmness. I can see you being a midwife and really being in that space with someone and keeping them calm and supporting them and doing all the things that a midwife would do. And I can get that from you.
Wow, that is such a huge compliment. Thank you so much. And I've been so happy to find out that there are so many different ways that we can do that for one another. So yes, being at your birth, the birth experience is an amazing honor to be there and witness babies being born and women coming into their own power through their bodies and feeling, really feeling in touch with themselves as they birth. It's so amazing. But there are also other life transitions and other experiences where women, where I help women come into that power for themselves, whether it's in their relationship or it's in their career or it's taking charge of their health. There's so many different ways we can do that. And that's what I've been, discovering since then, because, I'm not personally always available to be, at a birth experience, but I am able to show and mirror back for women their own power in everyday life. We have many births within this one lifetime, whether we have children or not.
Wow. So can you go into some of the other ways that you help women? Because I'm very interested with how you do your work.
Oh, yeah. It's so fascinating because so I went from being, a midwife, a spiritual midwife. Was there with other midwives or doctors, home or hospital. And one of the things that I just kept seeing over and over again was there was such an emphasis on like the 24 hours, the 32 hours, the 72 hours, whatever length of the labor itself. But many women forgot that like you're going to be a parent after that, and like you've got to remain in your power, especially, during the postpartum and like the first, well, forever, let's just say, but then you get into teenage years. I mean, you have got to have that sense of self and power. So over the years, it evolved to the point where now I feel so lucky, but because I've developed mindfulness practices that are so simple to do and they're daily practices. So I have people come into my office and also via Skype and all that, internet platforms. And I teach them, we talk about ways that they're currently taking care of themselves. And I teach them mindfulness practices that they can infuse into their daily time, whether it's while they're washing their face or it's preparing for bed, and the importance of taking good care of their bodies. And those are those moments that you can kind of steal away into your own privateness of yourself and your, communion with your body. And you can actually get in touch with the inner wisdom inside of you through some of the techniques that I use, like mirror talk. Have you ever heard of that, Trina?
I have my coach Lisa Nichols introduced me to mirror work. Yes.
Yes. So you know what I'm talking about. So I actually teach women while they're using really good, and I always really emphasize how important it is to use healthy products that are free from harmful chemicals, not tested on animals, like all that, good stuff, not harmful to the environment, all that. And so I teach them how to use their mirror time, their time, whether it's 3 minutes while they're washing their face, or it's 10 minutes while they're doing a face mask, or it's their bath time when they just close the door, put on the music, light a candle, and take a bath for 20 minutes. So those are some of the tools and techniques that I use. I love sharing things like loving kindness meditations, things like that just really help to center and relax people into their own selves, where we have such a, there's such a beauty and a gift that we've been given in our breath. So even returning to your simple experience of breathing can be so profound.
Mm. I have so many questions going through my mind. I'm trying to get them situated. How do your clients find you? Because so for me, for instance, like I said, a few years back when I was going through a very dark period, I would have loved to have known you during that time. How would I seek you out if I needed help?
Well, I hope that most of my clients come from personal referral, because I do have such a unique methodology, and it is so custom, my work that I do with each person. So it's helpful to have a personal referral, or even like this, Trina, getting a chance to hear me speak and to feel the essence of where I'm coming from. This is really a beautiful introduction, and I really appreciate that people can hear this podcast, and then they can go to my website, thewisdomofwithin.com, and they can reach out and, let's have a 30-minute phone call and discover, what ways I can help you in getting in touch with yourself, to help you to feel comfortable to go ask for that raise, or to ask for what you want in your relationship, or to negotiate your experience being a parent. And how do you find that essence in yourself? It could be through some of the other techniques I use are things like guided meditations. I love introducing people to their future self. Have you ever heard of that before?
I've heard of it, but not too familiar. So if you want to go into some detail, please do.
Yeah. So, in fact, I did this for the Boys and Girls Club in my local Boys and Girls Club. I love working with youth and introducing them because, as I said, I was really fortunate to learn at a very young age the importance of meditation and, doing practices such as yoga that, center yourself. So, at the Boys and Girls Club, I actually had the honor of being able to go, and in a very concentrated group of only like 10 gals. They were like, teenage age. And I just did a guided meditation with them. And it starts by basically just, doing some simple breathing techniques and kind of calming us down, feet on the floor, feeling our bodies in the chair, and feeling that our chest open and closed eyes. And then I just led them through this journey of going down a path and leading to a brook, and then looking at the reflection in the brook and seeing yourself not as you are right now, but who's the reflection that you're looking at? Is she 1 year older? Is she 20 years older? Is she 40 years older? And what does she look like? And what is she telling you? And of course, this is done over the period of 10-15 minutes, and it really gives the person a chance to really investigate and listen to this inner guidance from your future self. And then we do things like ask, like, well, what would she say to you? What would she tell you about what you're going through right now? And, what would she alert you to? Or what would she tell you to pay attention to? Or how will she reassure you so that you can feel that, when you open your eyes, you can take her with you? And so by just introducing, especially young people, to their future self, it helps give them perspective, because sometimes, especially, we're in the midst of a challenging time, or we're a young person, and we really, like I was telling you, like I really had no idea that like there was going to be a future, and I'd better rise up to it. I didn't have perspective like that. Well, when you're given that, it kind of, in a way, it calms you down to kind of recognize that, yes, this life, this day, it's very precious and it's very fleeting. So live this day as if it's your last, but in another way, sort of at the same time, in harmony with that kind of awareness of the preciousness of this life, is also this gift, if you can imagine, consoling yourself with your future self coming to you and kind of calming you down about those concerns that you might have, and helping you to understand that, there is a path, there is a continuum, and that this thing inside of you is what carries you through. And you can become friends with it at any age, and it will give you this sense of power and connection. And for some people, they actually literally see like their skin and their hair, and like they see this person. Maybe it's someone that looks familiar to them, maybe someone from their lineage in their life, their grandmother, or an aunt or something. And it's so cool because they like can draw pictures of this future self. Or like for myself, I found a postcard when I was traveling, and I carry that postcard with me everywhere I go, and that image on my phone. And it's just, I talk to her, and you can find this, I don't know, like this just like friendship in your own self by connecting with your own future self. It's very powerful.
Wow. Yeah. I'm listening to you and I'm thinking I need to do that the next time I'm sitting in the bath and just focus on that. And that was one of the questions I was going to ask you is, how do you get a person to be still and to get to that point where they're actually being mindful and looking within themselves, because we have so much chatter in our life. And I know, like, personally, like me, I'm better at it. And when I find that I'm operating on overdrive, where I call myself ADD, because I'm kind of like, oh, I need to do this. Oh, no, I need to do this. Before I finish one thought, I'm on another. How do you get a person to let that go, to actually become one with themselves and become mindful?
That's a great question. And I'm so glad that you bring that up, Trina, because it's really more about resilience. So, in other words, it's a returning to, and it's a constant returning to. It is not as if there's a place you get to in this calmness and you stay there, because in the next moment, the door could open, the kid can run in the house, the dog could be barking, a phone call can happen, and you get distracted and you get, pulled back into being in this hecticness of circumstances. So many people misunderstand meditation or mindfulness, and they think it's like you walk around like, in this om, state of mind, right? And as if that's what you're searching for and seeking. And, maybe that's for the people that are living on the mountaintop and they're monks and they've renounced the world. But, and actually, they say that isn't even true for them too. Our minds are constantly, like chattering. And so, yeah, I think it's just a matter of like recognizing the ebb and the flow and like going like, I hear you. Yeah, you're there. And like, let me get back to this place of calmness. And it is a matter of just really, a little bit at a time, or maybe some days a little bit easier than others, of returning back to yourself. And so that's why, I try and introduce people to so many different methods, whether it's guided meditation or music or dance or the mirror talk, just really, or reading a really inspiring book or listening to great podcasts like yourself. I mean, it's just really like, let's just share the resources that we have. And let's just encourage each other with each connection that we make, that, it is about the resilience to coming back to self.
Yes, I agree. And as I stated before, I'm better at it where I try to take in my surroundings. I'm trying to be mindful. So, example, when I go walk my dog, instead of me just kind of on the fast walk, walking the dog and sweating and going, okay, let me do however many miles and get back, I try to take in the scenery, the sky, the birds chirping. I try to clear my mind and just not let any thoughts go. I'm not planning my day. I'm not thinking about what I need to cook for dinner. I'm just really appreciating being out walking, breathing the air and looking at the sky. So would that be along the lines of what you're saying as far as the mindfulness?
Oh, absolutely. That's a wonderful way to do it. When I was giving a presentation at a local library, I introduced people to the idea that you can use your five senses. And at any point, like you're saying, you're taking a walk. So, maybe, looking for something to be aware of and to see beauty, listening for, the birds or the sounds of the children playing in the playground, and tasting. Like, it may sound funny, but like actually like right now, just tasting what you taste in your mouth. I just had an apple a little while ago, and like, just really like going, like, I can still taste it in my mouth. And then, the feeling of the air and the sun on your skin, like, so just like going through all of your five senses at any point throughout the day. And some people literally will put a timer on their, on their phone, and it'll be like, do your five senses, you know, and like, especially before going into a very important conversation or before making a big decision, like bringing yourself back into your body, into the present moment, that is so powerful because it's there that you find your human beingness. And, you know, you can, whatever method works for you. For some people, it really is, you know, in taking a dance break when they've been sitting too long and you've been still too long, and you get into that music and you hear it and it just makes your body move and it makes you feel like you're a human being and not just a doer, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I know exactly what you mean about doer because it's funny, and I think a lot of people are like this and they don't even recognize. But before I got to the state of knowing what my mindfulness was, I don't think I ever paid attention to just life. So again, with my walking, one day it dawned on me. I said, you know, how long have I been doing this walk and I never noticed this, or I never looked up in the sky and saw that it was so beautiful, or heard the birds chirping. And I was kind of amazed at myself because I was going, I have been going through life on autopilot actually, because I think I just tuned out everything.
You know, it's true. And that is why I love working with young people. And I do so much of my work, um, you know, gratis, really, for those young people in those boys and girls clubs or in, you know, community organizations, because I feel like that is a gift we can give back. And we, you know, those of us that have learned, like you have, Trina, you know, the value of doing that, and you see how much a difference it makes in your life. And so, you know, to just spend, you know, 30 minutes in a community setting with young people and share with them, it can really turn someone's life around and make an incredible impact. And that is so, so valuable.
And since you mentioned youth, what are you finding with them when you work with them? Because the state of the world that we're in today, and as many of the school shootings and things like this that we have, or the bullying, or school children committing suicide, what are you finding when you work with them? Are they being more open to maybe some of the stressors that they're having among their peer groups, because social media is just terrible for the kids nowadays? um yeah, do you find any trends or anything with them when you're working and doing this with them?
Absolutely. My husband's a psychologist, so he has been seeing younger and younger, like, you know, as early as 7 and 8 years old, clients that have really, really suffering with anxiety and depression. I mean, to be diagnosed with depression, you know, at 10 years old, you know, that's a really serious diagnosis. Now, as a coach, I'm more working on, you know, I'm not working in the diagnosis area. And I'm more working with the youth in group settings.
Mm-hmm.
But I do hear from my husband, and I read the American Psychological Association journals and things like that, and it is really, really frightening to me. Um, so when I'm working with youth, I'm generally working with them in a group setting, but I do work with a lot of parents
Mm.
that have youth. And actually, sometimes what will happen is their youth will be seeing my husband, and I will be working with them as a coach, the adult,
Mhm.
because when your child is suffering from anxiety or depression, it can really impact family members as well. So, one of the things that I have found to be extremely helpful is to work with the adults in that family and really encourage them to understand that the way they're modeling themselves is really having, you know, impact on their children. So encouraging them to also, you know, put the phone down in the evening, do model the proper rest and restorative practices that are so important. You know, when they were little, you know, it was kind of known that, like, of course, you're going to give them a bath, read them a book, and put them to bed. Well, when they become teenagers, they may not want that same, you know, system, but they still need that type of unwinding and, you know, sort of calming down before they go to bed as well. So you need to model that for them. And that will make a huge impact on their day, is bookending their morning and their evening with really calming practices. And even, as much as possible, trying to have those meals together. Maybe you can't have your lunch together, but, really saying, like, even if it's just going to be a granola bar and a cup of coffee in the morning or whatever, but like allow yourself those 5-10 minutes together and sitting together and being together before you leave the house. And at the end of the night, taking that time to be together and say goodnight and give each other a hug and really, as many times as you can in as many ways as you can during your week, like find those moments to be there for each other, and it is your responsibility as a parent and as an adult to model that behavior.
I find that that is very important because I do that with my two as well. And like I said, they're teenagers. So I'm at the point now where, I'm not cool anymore. They don't, I ask them questions and it's, yeah, no, no. But I make them, we all sit down and eat dinner together. And I have been doing this since day one. And I don't care if we're eating pizza or steak. We all sit down and we eat dinner together. And I put down the phone, and then especially since school has been out, I've had to tell them, go up and say, hey, it's time to turn off the video game and go to bed, or it's time to get off FaceTime. But I do think that those things are important to do because that's a foundation, that's a base. And like you said, how you model yourself to your children, that's what they're going to remember. And I didn't have that growing up in my life. So it's very important for me to have that with my children.
I totally agree. And I think sometimes we forget that what we're modeling is how to behave as an adult. That it may seem like, foreign. They may not be, it may seem like they're rejecting it, but I'll tell you from the other side, now that my children have had children, that now I see them doing the kinds of things that I did with them. And I get a chance to hear from them, like, maybe not so clearly like, thanks, mom, it still doesn't come so much so easily, but I see them doing the bath book in bed, with their kids. And I see them, especially, it's interesting. My son's not so much, but my daughter-in-law is reaching out to me and saying, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? Like they love and adore my sons,
Mm-hmm.
and they know that they came through me and my raising them. And so then they want to know for their kids, like, what did you do in this situation? Or how did you handle that? So that's been really rewarding. And I think that was something that I was just really, I don't know, I guess really fortunate to have been introduced to was, when I was raising my children, I looked at them as children. I certainly, was age appropriate, but I did also know that what I was doing, and by prioritizing my own personal self-care, it was actually giving them permission to know that when they became in a role of responsibility for their lives and if they wanted to have children, that they would also be given, permission to take time for themselves. And even as a young person, that like, I understood that like, there's a time to close the door and you are allowed to have your privacy and allowed to have your own personal time and, use it well and be healthy and take good care of yourself. And so it's been such a pleasure to talk to you, Trina.
Oh, I mean, I'm enjoying this too. I'm like, oh wow. I mean, and I love positivity, as we spoke before. It's just so much clutter and chatter and negativity going on that I refuse to be part of that. I want to use my voice for uplifting. So that's my goal here with the podcast. So I'm glad to have like-minded people such as yourself on and sharing such the amazing things that you're doing in your life and to impact others' lives. So I thank you for, taking time to speak with me.
It's such a pleasure. And, I think that what I've understood is that I could kind of crowd out that negativity by just focusing on the good things and the gratitude that I have for life. And it's not like I'm ignoring, the tough times or anything like that. It's just that like I could fill my life up with more and more and surround myself like you do, with good people and good thoughts. And then it has an impact. And, there's a lot of people that like think that, it has to be, all or nothing or something. And it's like, I know there's this book, 10% happier, right? Like, even if we just took, a couple little suggestions from listening to a podcast and implemented one new thing today, those kinds of things can really make an impact. In fact, I was listening this weekend to a speaker, and he was saying, and he wrote the book, The Happiness Advantage. And he was saying the simple act of like, and I'll paraphrase it. Like for me, it was like when I am washing my face in the morning and really digging deep and thinking of 3 things I'm grateful for. And he said that the scientific studies that have been done, and he's a Harvard professor, he's, really done some major, big studies. That act alone can make an impact on your day. And he said, not to just go through the list like, oh, I'm so grateful for, waking up this morning, and I'm grateful for my running water, but like, think about it. Like, where did the water originate, and how did it get to your house, and how many people had to do their job to get that water to your house, and then you're washing your face with it, like to that level, like really journey back through anything that you may be your food that's on your plate that evening for dinner. Like, just, when you're thinking about your gratitude, like really go back and think about all the people that it took to get there. And he said, when you do that, you actually, there's a physical sensation that happens in your brain, and it actually has an impact on the rest of your day to be that deep into gratitude. And so it's those kinds of things, Trina, that I find are so, so helpful, and that I love to share with people. Simple things, don't cost any money, doesn't matter where you're from, or, really seriously where you're from. I was just in Guatemala with these amazing women, and they were sharing with me their gratitudes. And I'm telling you, these are women that don't have running water, don't have electricity in their house. And they were an example and modeling for me gratitude. They were just so beautiful. So, I just want to say that, like, really anyone that this podcast is reaching really has the ability to come up with 3 things right now that they can be grateful for, and it will change your day.
Wow. Yep. Well, I'm going to write that down, because I'm going to start doing that myself, because sometimes we get into the hustle and bustle of the day, and I don't think we actually seriously think about it. And it does. It takes me a minute to get still, and then I'll finally say, wow, I'm actually thankful for, being alive today. I'm thankful to see my kids grow up and them being healthy. So yes, like you said, you have to actually think about it, not just get up and, the same old, yeah, blah, 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 but really, again, look within yourself and see what you're grateful for.
Exactly.
Okay, Pamela, we're going to go into the question segment. Are you ready?
Bring it on.
Okay. Who or what motivates you?
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. Each day it seems like it's somebody new or something I've just discovered. I think, actually today I will have to say it's my husband. He keeps popping in my office and like bringing me chocolate and little nuts and little like surprises. And like, to me, he motivates me because he has appointments back to back to back, but he's taking his 15 minutes in between and getting up and walking around and, just like giving love and sharing like just sweet little touches. And I'm just going to say today, it's my husband motivates me.
Okay. What demotivates you?
What demotivates me? I would have to say that it is my own limited thinking.
Okay.
It's like when I forget that even this breath is a miracle, when I start taking things for granted and I just start, sort of like forgetting the miracle of this precious life, that demotivates me. I get into, like the rigidity and the expectations and the rushing. And that just demotivates me. I find myself not having fun.
Okay. When was a time that something was said or done to hurt you, but it worked for your good?
I would say so many times that, in other words, like, I remember when I was a young girl and I would be called a name, and it would be like, that's a nasty thing to say to a young girl. And then later on, I'd be like, well, I'm just going to be like so much better than that. And I'm going to prove you wrong. So I think that, like, there's so many, I don't know. I guess I just feel like that is such an opportunity whenever someone is harming you or putting you down or bullying or any of those things. I think it's just like there's this switch that you can do is like, oh, okay, thank you for making me alerted to the fact that, I need to get out of this situation. In fact, as a matter of fact, when I was teaching childbirth classes, I used to say to people that the word pain, if you break that down, it's pay attention in now.
Hmm.
So if someone is hurting you or if someone is trying to harm you and you're feeling pain, that is your beautiful gift of being able to say, I want to pay attention to this and get out of this. And so that's how I would flip it around. It's like, I think it's a gift because it'll make you move if you use it that way.
I'm going to actually take that one and use that for myself. I like that. What is your fear?
Oh, I would say, there's that Marianne Williamson quote, and I know she says she didn't originate it, but it's, like our fear is actually like of being too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably the like most curious and unusual and like kind of quirkiest thing about us as human beings. But I think my fear is almost in a way shining too brightly. And I'm looking at that, and I'm paying attention to that, and I'm trying to get over that, Trina.
Okay. Is there a time when you wished you had done something that you didn't?
Yeah, I guess you'd say that. And then I'm thinking about this time when I had to leave my second husband because he was abusive. And I thought to myself, I wish I had never gotten in this marriage and put my children through this and, had them witness this. And then I just left, got a restraining order, completely left the state. I mean, left, never have wanted to never have to speak to him again. And I did that, and I have not spoken to him. And, so I guess you could say like, I wished that, and then I just did it. And yeah, but in a way, I find that like since then, I've now come to understand that that was really, like I said, kind of a gift because it made me realize, oh my gosh, I can do that. Like, recognizing the pain I was in and how it was not a good environment for my children. And so I mean, you don't wish pain on yourself or on other people, but in a way, if you can learn from it, well, there you go, So I don't know if I would say I wouldn't want to have wanted that. That's an interesting question.
Okay. Well, here's the reverse. Is there a time that you wish you had not done something?
No. I guess that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like, okay, I'll give an example. When I was 3 years old, my mother tells me, and this is like the first memory I have of her, her kind of saying to me, you've always been like this. We were in the car and got a flat tire or something happened with the car and we had to pull over. And she goes, well, we got a flat tire, got to call the, AAA, get somebody to come out. And I was like, well, guess we have to walk. I have just always been a person who, even though, it's what a pain. I got to change the tire or whatever. Like I always looked at it and went, oh, well, there's just going to be another way to do it. There's just going to be a way to get around it and deal with it. And I think that so when you look at life, like I just feel like I was born that way. It's just the way I came into life. And when you look at life like that and you share that with people, you have an opportunity to lighten their load about the circumstances and about the situations, and maybe help them with their perspective on things and help get out of things quicker.
Okay. What is your definition of success?
Oh, this is such a good one. I was recently participating in a money mindfulness workshop. And one of the things that she was saying was, make a date with your money, like have a monthly date where you look at your bank statements and your credit card statements, and you calculate your debt and you calculate your savings, like really make it fun, and like wear a pretty dress and put some nice music on, and like a date, like you would with a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and like sit down and like really get into it and have a relationship with your money. And I thought, oh, that's so interesting. Okay, let me do that. And then she said, she involved the, idea of like for your, to do it, to kind of look at, how well you're doing in your career. And I was doing that, and I said, oh, I need to add another column, because it's not just the money I'm earning or the debt I'm paying off or the expenses I'm able to, expense to my business, but actually I need to put a new column that has how many people's lives did I touch today? How many people told me that they had never heard of a particular technique or tool that I shared with them and that it changed their lives? I need to make another column that says how many people told me they're going to do this new practice and they're going to share it with their children. And that would be, a way of measuring my abundance and my success in a way with what I'm doing with my life. So yes, it may be, for some people, they would only associate it with like money earned, and that means they're successful. But for me, I was like, I need these other columns that add, the value of being in my profession and in my life, and what like that would be success and value. So I know that's an unusual way to answer your question, but it just came to mind to share with you, to kind of introduce people to the idea that, money is one form of currency. And I know a lot of people would, that would be their only measurement of their success. And I just want to introduce the idea that maybe there are other values and other ways and exchanges that you could feel successful. Of being able to say, I touched 5 people's lives today and it made a difference.
Oh, no.
And
yeah, I agree. How do you recharge?
I sleep.
Oh.
I think it's like one of the most wonderful. I love getting ready for bed. In fact, tonight I'm doing a Facebook Live, sharing with people the process, the path to getting ready to go to bed, and how I really do. It's like I just love that 20 to 30 minutes, put down the phone, put down the computer, go into the bathroom, and all the things I do, and then sitting in the bed and reading the book and just snuggling with my husband, and like just that whole, journey. And it is a restoration, a recharge, and even to the point where like I speak to myself about, I want to remember my dreams, and I want to, I want my brain to just have a rest. I mean, like really, it's really a beautiful, beautiful practice. And so that's what I do. I love going to sleep.
What are you awesome at?
I'm awesome at learning from love. I am awesome at being a vessel of information, like a clear channel to share resources and share love and inspiration. I'm awesome at being a friend.
What legacy do you want to leave?
Oh, I feel, especially since I've become a grandmother to my first grandchild is a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the legacy I'd like to leave is what being a woman in this world can look like, and that it can be, you can be sexy, you can be powerful, you can be down to earth, you can be in your body, you can be playful, you can be serious, you can be smart, you can be sassy. Yeah, that like you can be all that you are, and you can embrace all of your emotions. And I love sharing with my son when I see my little 7-year-old granddaughter, being like crying and being like disappointed. I go, yeah, girl, like let her be, let her be. She's feeling that. Like let it go through her body and be in her body. That is so beautiful. She's in touch with that. And I guess I want my legacy to be like, I want to be a model for really, really, truly embracing all that it means to be a female.
Wow, that was beautiful. Pamela, give the listeners one motivational takeaway.
You are enough.
Wow, that's it. Tell the listeners how they can connect with you in your social media platforms.
Oh, thank you so much. I love connecting with people. Yeah, we learn so much from each other, and it's in fact, one of the things about the Happiness Advantage, the book, The Happiness Advantage, the one that he went on to write after that, was the importance of connection. So I just recently came off of that, and I truly do believe it. It's so important. The one of the best ways is to reach out through my website, wisdomofwithin.com. And my name is Pamela Miles, and you can find me on Facebook, Instagram. Those are my two biggest places, and LinkedIn. I generally, like to have a conversation and connect with people, either, via phone or any internet platform. So I'm available in those ways. I live in Connecticut, but I also have a practice in Europe and in Colorado.
Oh, wow. Now, did you say you have a book as well?
Oh my gosh, you must be reading my future. Thank you so much for seeing that. I have been told that I need to write a book for so many years.
You do.
And I do. I do need to write a book. I think I need to dictate it. I need some support in this world to write this book because I just keep dreaming about it. I need somebody to help bring it out of me. Thank you so much, Trina.
Yes. See, now you need to focus on that. That's your future.
I love it.
Write a book. Well, Pamela, thank you for sharing your time with us, and hopefully we'll stay connected.
I intend to, and it would be my great joy.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Trina. You as well.
If you like Trina Talk, please don't forget to go out to Apple Podcasts to subscribe. Also, who else in your life do you know that needs some motivation and inspiration in their life? Don't forget to share Trina Talk with them. I hope you have a great week. And remember, if you change your mindset, you can change your life. Keep striving, because success is a journey, not a destination. You can listen to Trina Talk anytime and anywhere. It's available on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Spotify, and all other places that you can listen to podcasts. If you like the podcast, please don't forget to go to iTunes to subscribe, rate, review, and share. If you have questions for me or need inspiration on how to go to the next level, tweet me directly at Trina L. Martin.